All right, so I just made this recording and it's horrible, right? Whew, all right, it's pretty shit. Like it has all the things I want to talk about, and the flow is there. Like the flow of my presentation is solid, but audio isn't good. And so I'm just gonna like test something out here. I've got another form of microphone right now I'm using, and it's just my headset, right? Instead of this Bluetooth headset I was using. So let's just see if I can briefly talk about this just for the sake of checking my audio in a productive manner. So, all right, what's collective action? Well, this is a phrase that I heard Bill Gates say actually. He was talking about the fact that where global warming is concerned, um, you don't have an easy time getting people to participate in preventing global warming because, frankly, they don't care enough to do anything. It's part of the problem. The other part of the problem is people are not aware enough of the problems. And now, sadly, um, there's been all sorts of problems in California, right? So there, you know, there's both the flooding and the fires, and it's pretty horrible. Um, I don't know like how wide scale the flooding in California is. I just know it's there. Um, you know, but but it looks terrible. Lives have been lost. From a news report I saw, at least 17 lives were lost. I mean, I'm sure it's much more in the end when everyone's accounted for. But bottom line is, when you start seeing things like this, for whatever the real root cause of this is, people will be more incentivized to prevent it from happening again, right? So let's say that it's global warming to simplify the matter, right? And we saw this storm came from the west on radar and really did some heavy damage to California. Where few people have flood insurance because, frankly, you don't see hurricanes like this or storms or whatever it was. Like, it doesn't happen really that often. And this is after Californians were faced with a lot of fires for the past few years, and this past year, it seemed like exceptionally bad. So yeah, okay, so what? So collective action, what is that? That's like where people work together. That's all it is, right? Where people decide to work together to stop what? Global warming. Why global warming? Because it's one of the few things where literally everyone needs to participate for it to really stop. Maybe not actually everyone, but if more people participated, it could be stopped. Um, so, so that's basically the idea. And I'm trying to simplify it, right? Because there's always going to be these big problems in life, but the people who solve the problems are those who can simplify it. Like a math equation that's disorganized, you organize into something that you can act on, something that takes care of the big picture and turns it into something that you can relate to. So, in the case of flooding, right? So, here's a picture of, guess what? Flooding. And this was a picture that I think was taken after one of the hurricanes that hit Florida last year. Um, so, yeah, you know, Florida gets hurricanes a lot, but maybe California doesn't get them as much. Um, Regardless, flooding happens a lot around the world. So, I mean, like Kentucky got flooded this past year, and who saw that coming? A landlocked state in the middle of America, completely flooded. I don't know exactly how that happened. People reported it happened very quickly. It didn't sound like a normal, conventional rainstorm type flooding, but it happened. So bottom line is, what are the things we can do? Well, here's some things. So resource availability for emergency purposes, right? So when residents are flooded out of their homes, how do you help them out? Do we have the proper resources available? That's something that I found out the National Guard has as an MOS, which is mission like orders thing. I don't even know what MOS stands for. I looked it up before, but I keep forgetting. Military occupational specialty, aka just job, right? So that's a mouthful. Military occupational specialty. Couldn't you say MJ and call it military job? Like come on. Occupational specialty. But yeah, I could get into the details of what the MOS is, but I won't because it's not what I'm talking about here. But I know that they provide resources with quick allocation to their soldiers. I don't know if they do the same thing for civilians. I'm sure they do because the National Guard has a role to play where its own citizens in this particular state are concerned in emergency situations. Um, so I believe that kind of MOS could be easily modeled after for this kind of problem solving thing. So talking to somebody from the National Guard about that question of like how much do they actually help with resource allocation in terms of emergency situations, in terms of um, you know displaced peoples. Like for instance, a lot of people come from Haiti over to Florida right now because Haiti has their government has basically imploded. Um, they were yeah, I mean it's a long story that I don't know enough about to talk about, but basically a lot of Haitians were trying to come to Florida and they need help. And, Biden said we would help 30,000 of them uh, per year or something. And DeSantis, who is the governor of Florida, is like, nope, they're going back to Haiti. And then you'd see like people on the ground talking about where these folks are going to go. And, you know, they would be given papers to be sent back. But apparently some of them were allowed to stay. It's a little complicated of a situation for these people. Bottom line is, what about the residents who are displaced by global warming? What about the people who are already homeless that live here? What about these illegal immigrants? How do they fit into this picture? And the whole thing is simply, how do we have resources available for emergency circumstances like these? That's something that no matter who you're talking about, citizens, non-citizens, homeless people who are citizens, like we need to have a plan for that because it's a problem. It's a growing problem due to global warming. So as more floods happen, more hurricanes and tornadoes happen, like it becomes a more important issue. Then you have the fact that when people are displaced and like they don't have their normal places to go to, like for instance their school is closed, either temporarily or permanently. Tornado could definitely permanently shut down a school. And so what? Maybe their home is intact, but their school no longer is. How do we prepare to have, some sort of backup educational system, whether it's like an online platform that anyone can log into, depending on their grade level or what have you? How do we prepare for that? That's important too. Psychological care. There's things like BetterHelp. Apparently, it's like a platform that does like online psych care. Like I could talk to those folks about what they do and how they might fit into this picture of people who are troubled by having lost, all kinds of things due to global warming or just bad weather or whatever. Like the world could really go through a lot of havoc with people being displaced and homes being destroyed. Like, yeah, people will need help psychologically. Um, and then how do they rebuild their communities when the infrastructure they normally have is disrupted? So that's the thing there too. And and then like worst case scenario, like yeah, a lot of people are displaced because their homes are destroyed. So yeah, whether it's homeless people that you're helping or folks that just lost their home, being able to mass produce shelter might be a staple of preventing global warming from overwhelming or civilizations. So around the world, not just in America, right? So the ability to do this is relatively mastered with the craft of this whoever made this thing, who's definitely worth talking to about his invention because what he did was he made a contraption that can 3D print mud homes, houses straight out of mud and water, just mud and water, you know, and look at it, it's like it looks nice, but the point is that this is a machine that's extremely effective and can print who knows how many homes, and the machine itself costs like about $100,000 or so, and that cost can only go down from there, right? But if one machine costs $100,000 and it can print 100 homes, then that's $1,000 a home, essentially outside of operational costs, right? So that becomes very effective. And the fact that it doesn't require that much physical labor makes it even better because you don't need a large team to operate it or to build that many homes, so the labor costs go way down. So it becomes very effective at providing homes. Um, and so yeah, I mean, if we can't do it here in America, where can we do it? So yeah, um, pandemic also has impacted homelessness. So this is a problem that is not new and is not subsiding. It needs some work, right? So yeah, talking to people about this stuff will be ground zero for the effort. Building a network is the next phase, and getting that network to be effective is what the ultimate goal becomes, right? The collective action solution. So there you have it.